Hey, what's up guys, it's Lee. Now, if you're watching this video, then you've probably been toying with the idea of either getting the Sony A6700 or the Sony FX30. And it's probably been a choice that you don't want to take lightly, AKA you don't want to choose wrong. So in this video, I'm gonna go through some of the pros and cons of each camera. I'm gonna let you know, who each camera is best for. And be sure to watch this video until the very end so that you don't make the same mistake that I did and get the wrong camera for your needs. So let's start with the FX30 because why not, right? I've had the Sony FX30 for just over a year, and my reason for buying this camera as a content creator was to take my video capabilities to the next level. I wanted to have a camera that I could use for the sole purpose of creating videos here on YouTube and on other platforms as well. My overall impression of the FX30, has been great. And for the past year or so, many of the videos that I've made here on YouTube have actually been made with the FX30. So initially I felt like this camera was gonna be way too much. I mean, there were so many buttons, the specs were crazy. There were all these terms I didn't know about, like S-Cine tone, Cine EI, I'm like, what is that? There's S-Log3, HLG, all these things that I felt like were a bit too complex for me. But, I will say that all of my fears, were quickly laid to rest the more that I learned about the camera and how to use it and the value of all the different settings as well. And even now, I feel like I've only just scratched the surface in terms of what this camera is actually able to do. And for me, it's a camera that has an incredible value for money ratio. So let's shift over to the Sony A6700. Overall, there are so many great things that I can say about the Sony A6700. One of the main reasons why I picked this camera was the fact that it's an amazing hybrid camera. It's designed for photography and videography. And to me, that felt perfect because as a photographer, a YouTuber, content creator, this was really appealing to me and it got me really excited about creating, right? It was a camera that could do it all, so to speak. And the fact that this camera sports the same exact sensor that's found on the Sony FX30, that was a huge plus for me because, like I said earlier, I was looking to elevate my video quality and, this just sounded like it fit the bill for that. Now, one of the main reasons why you probably found yourself watching this video is because these cameras are alike in many ways. So let's just kind of go through some of the similarities between these two cameras, and then I'll talk to you guys about some of the differences as well so that you can kind of see where they start to converge in terms of differences. Now, if you didn't know, both of these cameras have the same 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, which means that they both have the same ISO capabilities, which, range from 100 to 3200, which expands out to 50 to 102,400. They both have a 3-inch fully articulating screen. They can both shoot 26 megapixel still photos, and they can both shoot 4:2:2 color 10-bit 4K video. And that video, by the way, in both cameras is downsampled from 6K, which is amazing. And it makes for really sharp, crispy footage. They can both shoot up to 120p, but it does have a crop. They're both weather sealed and they both come with professional picture profiles I mentioned earlier, like S-Log3, S-Cine tone, Cine EI, and HLG. And you can also upload your own LUTs and add them as a preset to preview what the footage is actually going to look like while you're recording on both of these cameras, which is really, really nice. Now, when it comes to the differences, this is where you're going to start to see things are a bit different for both of these cameras. Even though they have the same sensor and we hear all these things about how similar they are, let's talk about the differences. The most notable difference is that the camera bodies are completely different. The A6700 resembles and handles and feels like other Sony photography-based cameras, while the FX30 is built with dedicated video controls in mind. So it's really built completely different. The body is completely different. Another big difference is that the Sony FX30 can put out 16-bit raw video that can be recorded on an external monitor. It also has a full-size HDMI port versus the mini HDMI port that's found on the A6700. The A6700 can shoot stills at up to 11 frames per second with a mechanical shutter, and the FX30 does not have a mechanical shutter, and it can only take one photo at a time. The A6700 also comes equipped with the new AI autofocus and AI auto framing features, which is really great for content creators who, want to move around a little bit and kind of stay in frame. It does a really great job with that. The Sony FX30 can use Sony's top handle, which allows you to plug in XLR microphones directly into your camera. It's a really good accessory if you have the need for it. The A6700 does not, unfortunately, have that capability. The FX30 has dual card slots versus one in the A6700. The FX30 does not have an electronic viewfinder, which the A6700 does. So those are some of the main differences, right? Now let's just talk a little bit more about who these cameras are best for based on these specs and capabilities that we talked about. So who is the FX30 best for? Now, this camera is best for anybody who is serious about content creation. They're looking to make their own films. They want to use it professionally for weddings or client work. Let's not forget the fact that you can use the camera for stills as well to grab much needed thumbnails or Instagram shots, photos for clients while on set. Because it does have that 26 megapixel sensor. Although you're limited to a single shot mode, it's going to be more than enough for many projects. It's also going to be great for, like I said, independent filmmakers or aspiring videographers, folks that are on a budget, right? And they can't afford a camera like the FX6 or the FX3. This is a great alternative for those people. This is essentially the little brother to the FX3, by the way. And if you do happen to pick up an FX3 later, this is a great B or C camera for somebody that is already using that, or the FX6 or the A7S3. It could just really fit in nicely with that type of setup. And even for hybrid shooters who mainly use something like the Sony A7 IV, but also want to use the FX30 alongside that for video, also going to be a great option for people like that. I also personally think that this camera is going to be great for doing wedding films as well. And sure, you might want to move up eventually to the FX3 down the line, and like I said, use this as a B or C cam, but there's no reason that you can't start with this camera either, because it does have dual card slots and it has many of the capabilities that you find in the FX3. It's just an APS-C sensor in this camera, which means that it may not be as good in low light situations as the FX3 as well. So who is the FX30 not for? This camera is not going to be for somebody who is a true hybrid shooter. If you're doing photo half the time, video half the time, you're honestly going to have to pick something else up. It's just going to serve you better. Obviously, you're not going to use this primarily for photos, so there's that. I would say that if you are a true hybrid shooter and you're deciding between both of these cameras, the A6700 is going to be your best bet. Now, if you do need excellent low light performance, you just are gonna, unfortunately, you're just gonna have to pony up the money for the FX3. It's just so much better. A lot of folks have also complained about the rolling shutter as well, and that can be a problem for some folks depending on the projects that you plan to be working on. But honestly, I think that if you keep it in mind, that you'll be okay in most instances. So who's the Sony A6700 best for? Now, I think this camera is perfect for beginner photographers that want a camera that, it's going to allow them to kind of learn and grow, in their craft, right? This is a camera that is amazing. It performs really well in all conditions. And while the price point can be a little bit steep for some of the beginner photographers out there, I do believe that, it can be worth it if you plan to keep this camera for a couple years. One of the main reasons is because this camera is a Sony APS-C camera. And I emphasize Sony because Sony has not shied away from working with lots of other third-party lens manufacturers, which means you have access to a wide range of lenses. And secondly, because this camera does not have a full frame sensor, the lenses are far less expensive than you'd actually have to get with a full frame camera. And that's even if you were able to grab an older full frame camera. Secondly, this camera is perfect for anyone who is a true hybrid shooter, somebody who needs to capture amazing stills and high quality video. This is going to be a great option. So if you're somebody who is a videographer first and a photographer second, I would say that the better option would be the FX30. The same sensor, different body, better ergonomics and options from a cinema camera perspective, it's just a little bit better, and it's going to be well worth it more if that is kind of like where you fall. And especially if you just need to snap a few pictures here or there, that's going to be the better option. But again, if you're doing both, the A6700 definitely is the best option. Now let's talk about who the Sony A6700 is not for. Now, if you're somebody who is taking on client or paid work on a consistent basis, whether it's for photo or video, I would say that this probably wouldn't be the best option for you. I think you'd really want to step up to a camera that does have dual card slots, and if you're doing video, a camera that really allows you to rig out or build out your setup as necessary for whatever kind of work you're going to be doing. All right, so the moment has arrived where I'm going to talk to you guys about how I actually chose wrong between these two cameras. Initially, I first bought the Sony A6700 because why not, right? It's a beast of a camera. It's a hybrid camera. It's great for photo and video. And so I was really blown away by it. So I did pick up the Sony A6700, but then later I realized that, you know, this is a great option, but if I plan to upgrade my other full frame cameras to like the Sony A7 IV, which I have, then this camera would in a way become kind of like a camera that I don't need, right? An extra camera that's just lingering around that pretty much can do the same thing as the Sony A7 IVs. But, you know, one of the other things that I decided to start to get into this year in 2025 was to start to shoot more video and also maybe do some client work when it came to video as well. And so that's where I decided, like, hey, actually, I think the FX30 is the better option for me when it comes down to that. And honestly, because the FX30 is video centric, this also in a lot of ways made more sense to use the FX30 for filming videos like these because it is solely video centric. And I don't have to worry about my camera ever overheating. I can use it in different environments. I can use it for client work. It has dual card slots. I don't have to worry about that professional side of things as well. And honestly, from a cost perspective, the cost was very similar to the A6700 at the time I bought this. So that's without the top handle, by the way. So that is kind of like why I chose wrong. So I know it might seem a little bit complicated, and there's a lot of thoughts that have gone through my mind when deciding between these two cameras. I still plan to sell my A6700 because I do have those Sony A7 IVs, but I'm saying all this to say, when it comes down to making a choice between these two cameras, make sure that you think long and hard about how you're actually going to use these cameras and how they pair well with what you already have, if you do already have cameras as well. So make sure that's something that you consider, and also think about how your needs might change after a year or two as well, because that could also mean the difference between you deciding between one or the other of these different cameras that we're talking about here today. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you did find it helpful, definitely hit the like button for me. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button for me, hit the subscribe button for more videos just like this one. I make videos on gear reviews, photography, videography, content creation, things like that. So if that sounds like something that floats your boat, definitely hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.